You're with Colin Brazier on GB News on TV, online and on digital radio, almost coming up to 10 to 5 on Spring Statement Day. Now, we're going to be talking about wind power next, shall we? We've got Rhodri Williams and Dr Grahame Buss. Rhodri's campaigning against wind turbines in his part of Wales. Grahame Buss is very much somebody who believes from a technical standpoint that they are part of the solution, part of the answer to our energy mix. Rhodri Williams, let's start with you. I know you're part of a campaign group trying to stop the construction, the erection of wind turbines where you live. I was told just how big they are, the ones that are planned for where you live. They're gigantic.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom. They're 220 meters high. Oh, sorry, 250 meters high. So that's over 8,000 feet. We have a transmitter down here, the Wenvone transmitter, and it's roughly the same height as that. But to put it another way, it's the height of the Eiffel Tower. So we're going to have 22 of these monstrosities on top of a mountain. So the mountain's already roughly 200 meters high. So so it's really hard to fathom, like I said, how tall these are going to be and how much they're going to dominate the landscape of where we live, affecting thousands of people. They're being quite sly how they've termed the wind farm. They're calling it a Bryn Wind Farm. So Bryn is a village, a very small village, just a few thousand people. But like I said, these will be on top of the mountain overlooking Port Talbot, Maesteg, Carmarthen. The reach is going to be huge. You'll see them from Devon even across the channel. Sorry, I'm going on a bit about that.
You've painted a vivid picture of just how they will dominate the landscape there. But Dr Grahame Buss, as a former principal scientist at Shell, and a scientist of a very considerable standing, I mean, the objections, I suppose, that Rhodri's putting forth there, I mean, they're aesthetic ones, aren't they? That's not to say they don't count, and people have strong local objections, but they're objections to how the thing looks, not to how the thing works.
Well, the 2 points I think you could make here. The first one is, I know Rhodri's also commented on the hazard that was he was one of the things that they were worrying about was that it might fall over. So I think I used to work in a major hazard explosion group when I was in Shell for a few years, and I can tell you, oil is a much greater hazard than green energy is. But if you come to,
we tend to think of that happening hundreds of miles offshore, don't we?
We do it. What about Bunsford? You remember Bunsford? Nearly 50 people very seriously injured by a major explosion. The turbines are a lot safer. The other thing about beauty, of course, I mean, I understand that position, and you know I'm from Just Stop Oil. We want to see an end to licensing of oil projects in the UK. And that's because of climate change, of course. And climate change will ravish our countryside. If Rhodri's worried about the way the countryside looks, the way his environment looks, climate change is going to destroy it.
More concern on that's just one reason. I could go on, but it's hard to deny that that's going to have a huge impact visually. So yeah, that is a big reason, but it's one of many, which I can talk about if you like. But,
well, I'll tell you what I do want to talk about, Grahame Buss, if it's possible, just to incline this conversation to today's events with the Spring Statement. And solar power got a boost today from the Chancellor, didn't it? The idea of no VAT on solar panels.
Yes, it did. I think these are excellent suggestions. If you think about the cost of renewables are far cheaper than oil and gas-based electricity. So before the Ukrainian war, before that, renewables were half the price of electricity made from gas. Now they're 4 times smaller than the cost of electricity made from gas. So it makes absolute sense to move out of these products and move into renewables.
Grahame, I'm sorry, we're running a bit short of time, but I'm going to try and make a point that I suspect Rhodri would make to you, and that is that when it comes to the carbon offsetting value of wind power, you know, these things don't erect themselves. There's a lot of material that goes into them. And of course, the bigger question is that the wind doesn't always blow. I mean, that remains the hardy perennial question for people like you, doesn't it?
There's still a significant benefit, net benefit, even once you've built all these facilities. There's a significant carbon benefit. There are countless ways in which we can address questions of having enough all the time. I completely understand that position. Storage is one thing, but there's also things like demand management and insulation. So, I mean, we can address this, but the key point is we have to address it. We don't really have a choice. We don't have a choice. We have to accept that we have to move to renewables. And we will find that renewables are cheaper.
Rodri, when you look at the emails that are coming in from people who are part of your campaign group there, I mean, there's such a range of objections that include things like the wind turbine blades being a hazard for wildlife and chopping birds to pieces and all the rest of it. But when it comes to the times that we are living through right now, next month you'll see the ceiling, the cap that's put on electricity bills raised. Whether it's in North Wales where you are, whether it's in other parts of the UK, people listening to the spring statement today, what they care about is paying that little bit less for their fuel bills. And if that comes from wind, then que sera, sera.
So I live in South Wales, and this wind farm is going to be the tallest onshore wind farm in the UK, one of them anyway. But let me just put, we don't need onshore wind turbines. We're not against renewable energy. The same turbine offshore will produce 50% more energy than any turbine offshore. So let that sink in for a while. So yeah. We can build them a lot higher offshore. We can generate more power from them offshore, which is what's happening. We haven't got a huge issue against offshore wind turbines. For living in Wales, we wish that the profits from the Crown estate would devolve to Wales, but that's another debate altogether, like they are in Scotland.
That really is another debate.
Can I just put it? Sorry. Yeah, people might accuse us of being NIMBYs. That comes up all the time, or not in our backyard. But guess how many wind turbines we have in this area, in the South Wales Valley? We have over 200 wind turbines in this small area. We have UK's largest onshore wind turbine, Pennacymoedd, with 72 turbines. That's only 20 minutes away from where we live, and they want to put an extra 22 in this area. It's unbelievable, the cheek of it. And we've had no conversation, and we've tried to have a conversation with the Welsh government, but they're telling us we need to speak to the manufacturer, the development company behind this. So anyway, it's a shambles.
Rodri, I want to apologise for, I did say North Wales, didn't I? So of course, that would be a heck of a reach to see from Devon to North Wales. So apologies for that. There you are in South Wales. Grahame, just on, as a former senior scientific figure with a major fossil fuel provider, a lot of political discussion today about whether some of those gigantic profits that the likes of your former employer has been making ought to be given back in some form to the humble taxpayer. Do you have a view on that?
Yes, they should. I don't think we should be leaving people.
No, do you know what, Grahame? We'll leave it there. It's always lovely when we get a pithy answer that's emphatic and clear. Grahame Buss and Rodri Williams, thanks both so much.